Deep in the Australian bush, there are places where the trees seem to close in around you. The tracks get narrow, the light fades quickly, and every small sound feels louder than it should. For generations, people have told stories about something moving out there, something large, something covered in hair, something that walks upright but does not feel quite human. Some say it is only folklore. Others say it is misidentified animals, fear, darkness, and imagination. But some people believe they saw something they could never explain. Across Australia, from mountain ranges to remote bush tracks, the legend has stayed alive under one name: the Yowie. The Yowie is often described as Australia's version of Bigfoot, a large, hairy figure said to move through forests, mountain tracks, and remote bushland. But the story is not simple. Depending on who tells it, the Yowie can sound like a creature, a spirit, a warning, or something seen only for a few terrifying seconds before disappearing. Some accounts describe it as tall and powerful. Others focus more on the feeling it leaves behind, the silence, the fear, and the sense that something was watching from the trees. That is part of what makes the legend so difficult to dismiss. It is not just one story from one place. It is a mystery that keeps appearing in different forms across the country. And for people who believe they saw it, the Yowie is not a campfire joke. It is something they remember for the rest of their lives. Stories of strange, hairy figures in the Australian bush go back far beyond modern internet sightings and late-night mystery videos. Some Aboriginal stories speak of hairy figures, spirits, or beings connected to the land, but the details change between cultures, and not every story means the same thing. That part is important. Australia has many different Aboriginal nations, languages, and traditions, so we cannot treat every old story as one single Yowie legend. Later, colonial-era reports and bush stories also began speaking about strange, hairy men, or unknown figures seen in remote areas. Over time, older stories, local legends, witness claims, and modern mystery culture all began to blend together. And from that mix, one name became known to many Australians: the Yowie. As the Yowie story moved through time, it did not stay only around campfires or late-night conversations in the bush. It began appearing in old reports, newspaper stories, books, local legends, and later online databases where people recorded what they claimed to have seen. Some accounts were vague: a strange figure near a road, heavy movement in the trees, a sound that did not match anything familiar. Others were more detailed, describing a large upright shape, long arms, dark hair, and a moment of fear that happened too fast to fully understand. But with a mystery like this, every report has to be treated carefully. A story written down is not the same as proof. Memory changes, details grow. A frightening moment can become clearer in someone's mind after the fact, even when the truth is still uncertain. And yet, the reports kept coming back to the same basic idea. Something large in the bush, something upright, something people believed should not have been there. To understand why the Yowie story has lasted so long, you have to understand the Australian bush. In daylight, it can look calm. The trees stand still, the roads stretch into the distance, and everything feels open. But at night, or in heavy fog, the same place can feel completely different. The trees block your view. Sounds travel strangely. Shapes appear and vanish between branches. A branch breaking in the dark can sound like footsteps. A shadow near the road can look like a figure. A distant animal call can feel much closer than it really is. And in places where the roads fade out, the tracks narrow and the forest keeps going, it becomes easier to understand how stories like this survive. Because out there, even ordinary things can feel unknown. Yowie stories are not tied to just one place. Reports and legends have appeared in different parts of Australia, especially along the eastern side of the country. Two areas often linked to the Yowie legend are the Blue Mountains in New South Wales and parts of Queensland, including the Kilkivan region. These are real places: roads, forests, ranges, and bush tracks where people have claimed to hear or see something they could not explain. The details change from story to story. Sometimes it is a shape moving near a road. Sometimes it is something standing between trees. Sometimes it is only the sound of heavy movement in the bush. None of this proves the Yowie is real, but it does show why the legend keeps returning. Different places, different witnesses, similar fear. One reason the Yowie story keeps returning is because people still report encounters in modern times. In Queensland, one reported case involved a man who claimed he saw something large and unusual in bushland near Dularka National Park. According to the report, he believed the figure was not a normal animal, and later claimed that people from a Yowie research group found a footprint near the area. That does not prove the Yowie exists. A claimed footprint, a frightening memory, or a strange shape in the bush can still have other explanations. But stories like this show why the legend keeps surviving. They are not always old tales from the past. Some people say these moments are still happening now. A person goes into the bush expecting nothing unusual. Then something moves. Something stands where it should not be. Something disappears before they can make sense of it. And by the time they leave, the story has already become part of the larger Yowie mystery. When people describe the Yowie, the details are not always identical, but certain ideas appear again and again. A tall figure, covered in hair, walking upright but not quite moving like a normal person. Some witnesses describe heavy footsteps moving through the bush. Others talk about deep calls, strange growls, or sudden silence before something appears. In some stories, the figure is seen only for a few seconds. A dark shape crossing a track, a shadow between gum trees, something large standing where nothing should be standing. Then just as quickly it disappears. No clear photo, no body, no proof left behind. Only the witness, the memory, and the question of what they really saw. So why do people still believe? Part of it is the number of stories. Different people, in different places, describing something they say they could not explain. For some, it was only a sound in the trees. For others, it was a dark figure near a track, or something moving quickly through the bush before vanishing. Skeptics say these stories could be misidentified animals, shadows, fear, or memory changing over time, and that is possible. But for the people who believe they saw something, the Yowie is not just a legend from someone else's story. It is a moment they never forgot, a moment where the bush suddenly felt alive in a way they could not explain. Of course, not everyone believes the Yowie is a real creature. Skeptics have suggested more ordinary explanations. A person seen in poor light, an animal moving through thick bush, shadows, fear, distance, or stories changing as they are retold. Some reports may even be hoaxes, and in a mystery like this, that has to be considered. The Australian bush can distort what people think they saw. Fog can hide distance, darkness can change shapes, sound can bounce through trees in strange ways. A strange moment can become something much bigger once fear takes over. But that is what makes the Yowie story so difficult to close. If every sighting has a simple answer, why do the stories keep sounding so familiar? Maybe the Yowie is folklore. Maybe it is misidentification, fear, or stories growing over time. But the mystery survives because Australia is enormous. There are forests, ranges, tracks, and remote places where a person can stand alone and feel completely surrounded. The bush has a way of making ordinary sounds feel strange. A snap in the trees, a movement just out of sight, a shape that disappears before you can understand what it was. And when people walk away from those moments, some of them are left with one question. What did I just see? Maybe the Yowie is only folklore. Maybe it is a mix of old stories, fear, shadows, and animals seen in the wrong light. Or maybe, for some witnesses, something happened out there that they still cannot explain. The truth is, the Australian bush does not give up its secrets easily. And after all the stories, all the sightings, and all the doubt, one question still remains. What is really hiding in the trees? This was Hidden Rush. Mysteries, legends, and unexplained stories from Australia and around the world. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Hidden Rush, and share it with someone who loves mysteries.